like, okay, I guess so.
All right. So if you want to start sharing it, because I know for like, if you share it on YouTube, it takes a couple minutes for it to come up.
How do I do that?
So you should be able to go down to your more button for those three dots. And if you have the membership, you should already, do you have it already set up to where you can share on your YouTube or Facebook?
I do not have that set up yet. I could record it.
You could.
If you give me permission to record it. I don't know that I actually signed in as myself. I think I just clicked on the link. And...
Right, but your name is still coming up.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't have any three dots. Oh. I have pin, stop video, edit profile picture. So
down on the bottom.
I'm at the bottom here. I see share screen, record, reactions, chat is on the left, and participants where it lists all three of you. So I don't know. I actually have the subscription that I pay for, so I'm not really sure.
So we'll have to go in.
So if you go up
your settings
on YouTube,
into Zoom and allow that to link up.
So the other thing that you can do is there's a live on YouTube link up at the top of the screen, and you can go up there and it's a drop down menu.
I see that.
And it says view stream on YouTube or copy streaming link. You should be
there
able
we
to
go.
Your streaming link.
That's what I've got. Okay, so now I can go into my other places and
be able to do that.
All right.
Well, this is going to be interesting. I'm kind of excited to see how this is all going to turn out. And I'm excited to be able to participate in this group. So this is going to be a lot of fun.
I am too. I think this is a great topic for people. And I don't think that people's interest in this topic ever changes. People just really are fascinated by their dreams. So thanks for hosting that.
I mean, there's times where it's like, right, I'm kind of go like, why am I still having this dream? What's going on?
Have you had, do you have recurring dreams?
Kind of, sort of. So whenever I want to start dating, I always have a dream about my ex. And it can be a different type of a dream, but he's always in it.
Is he being a jerk in these dreams?
No, he's not. But it's just like really interesting, like, what is going on?
Oh, that is funny.
Maybe it's just trying to prompt you to remember what it is about that you learned in that relationship and not bring that.
God, I hope not.
Don't forget those lessons.
Because, I wouldn't want to date if that was the case.
Oh, that's funny. Okay.
All right. Are there others joining us, or is it us three?
There should have been one more, but she did not answer her, and she replied earlier.
Okay. Well, maybe she'll join us later.
Yeah. Yeah, because she replied earlier going, can't wait. Or yes, me too, looking forward to it. So hopefully she comes on.
All right, well, it is 11 o'clock, so I guess let's go ahead and start. Us three will just begin. So
awesome.
Well, okay, so today I'm going to be the moderator of the group. My name is Althea Mitchell for everybody that's joining and participating. Michelle knows who I am, Lisa knows who I am, but for those of you that don't know who we are, we're going to take just a couple minutes and tell just a little bit about ourselves so that you can get familiar with us. Lisa, do you want to go ahead and start? Tell us who you are, where you're at in the world, and what it is you do.
Well, thank you. Thanks to both of you for hosting this. It's really exciting to be part of these discussions. So I live in Gearing, Nebraska, which is the western part of Nebraska, closer to Wyoming than Omaha. If most people think we might be close to Omaha, but our nearest city is Denver. And so what I do is I consider myself a transformation teacher and healer and coach, through a variety of different tools that I use, transformational breath work and yoga and meditation, and something that I've created called archetypal gesture, which is a breath and movement modality, as well as Reiki healing work that I do. I employ a lot of different tools to help people to come into their authentic being and to let go of all the things, anything that holds them back, including filters, programming, beliefs, and things that just stand in the way. So I love dreaming. Dreaming is part of the tools that we all have. And so it's an exciting conversation today. Thank you.
Oh, you are welcome. Okay, Michelle, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're at in the world, what it is you do.
All right, thank you. I'm Michelle. I live in Loveland, Colorado. It is a bit chilly here today also. We've gotten this Arctic weather for February, which is not normally this cold in February, so it's kind of interesting. And I call myself a spiritual life coach. I see people's souls. And through that, I am able to figure out where they're at, why they're there, and how to get them back to where they're supposed to be so they can remember who they truly are. And one of the modalities that I use is called the Akashic Records, which I love because when you're going through a lot of trauma work, the best thing you can do is go in, release those negative emotions that are attached to that trauma event so we can look at it in a different way. Because if we can look at it from an outside point of view without having all those emotions attached to it, it's a lot easier to get through it and release and let go, which is what we're all supposed to be doing when we go through those events. Anyways.
That's right. So for people that are not familiar, then really most of us that are going to be joining have all had healing modalities. Either we have been born with them or we have come into them just over a period of time. Some of us have been able to just learn these abilities on our own. Others have received training. It's wonderful, the plethora of information that is out there. There truly is something that is for everybody. It does not matter what type of healing it is that you do or that you need. There really is something out there for everybody. The one thing that I love about the energy work healing arts is that I think all of it goes together. I don't think anything gets left out. I think every aspect of it is something that works together. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Althea Mitchell. I am in Riverton, Wyoming. I am the owner of Direct Emotion. And what I do is I've been certified in the emotion code. From my own experience with health related issues, there is always an underlying cause, which everybody knows that. Finding it sometimes is the tricky part. And that is where I use the emotion code to tap into the energy and start identifying the emotions and quickly releasing them so that you can start the natural process of healing again. That is the simplest process or the easiest way I can describe how it works. So after this video is done, we're going to be on here for an hour. After this video is done, we'll make sure the contact information for everybody is in the links and everything like that so that you can get a hold if you have any questions further for any of us. You can get a hold of us and you'll know how. Today, we're going to be talking about something that is highly sought after. This is something that has been a mystery. It's been something that's always been like really significant. We've always wondered what it means, what it does, what it's supposed to do. How does this help us in our life? And it's always this mysterious thing because we get snippets, bits and pieces. So putting it together is the crucial part, right? So we're going to be talking about dream interpretation. This is something that is an amazing thing when you can discover it, right? And be able to use it. Wouldn't you agree, ladies?
Mm-hmm.
However, dreams are so mystifying and subtle, and how do we determine what they are? So we've got a couple of dreams here from some of our participants, and we're going to kind of start diving into them, and we're going to explore where they mean, what they mean, where they might take us. Is there something more we can learn from them? Or maybe it's an aspect of healing that we need to be able to do for ourselves. So in all of this, it's like, what do our dreams really mean? And so the first question is, okay, that we're going to ask is a reoccurring dream significant? Michelle?
Oh, definitely yes. Because there's something there that your psyche's trying to tell you over and over again that you're either not catching on or you're not wanting to listen to it.
I agree. Lisa, what do you say about it?
Well, it's funny. The only recurring dream I'd ever had in my life, I haven't had for so long, but I used to have these dreams where my teeth were falling out. And they were just horrific. Like, there is nothing more horrible than to think that your teeth are just falling out. And what it symbolizes can be, a warning about gossiping. And so it's no surprise to me that as a younger person in teenage years, especially, that's when I would have these dreams. And so I'm sure that I am not a perfect human, and that just like everyone, I can fall into that trap. But I would say I've come a long way, and so thankfully I haven't had any of those dreams. Thankfully.
Very good. So now the next question we're going to ask is, because I think a lot of people are always very curious, like the symbolism of a dream, the symbolic meaning of this. Is it always about, there's a lot of people who dream of animals. When we see animals in a dream, is it us connecting to our animal spirit guides? Lisa?
That's such a good question. I think that it's possible, but I also think that the animals have a resonance and a vibration, and there are some wonderful resources out there for learning about the energy that an animal brings. And so I don't know that it's always like, oh, I dreamt of a deer, which means that I always have an energy of a deer in my field that goes along with me as one of my guides. I don't know that that's always the case. I think sometimes it's just a matter of that the deer is gentleness, and maybe there's a message there that you could be more gentle, or that there is something coming up in your life where gentleness will be a quality that or a tool that would be most advantageous to work with. So I don't know really how to answer that, other than yes and not always.
I think that's a great explanation, because the same kind of reference, Michelle, if you will answer this one, it kind of is the same part. But what about when we see like trees or the inanimate objects that you're just like, wow, there was a big tree there, that's all I seen, or it was a great big building, so do those have particular meanings about maybe receiving guides or getting an upgrade or anything like that? I mean, what is your take on the symbolism of objects?
So it depends on what the object is, as each object has a different symbol also. So a house can also mean your safety. How safe do you feel like your soul is being? So a house can represent like our body as our soul's house. And it can just be a representation of that emotion or that feeling on how safe we're feeling within our own body. And it's showing up as a house in our dream. Trees also have a spiritual meaning and a family relationship. And so when we look at trees, we also have to go, okay, we see a tree, we need to go, okay, what kind of tree was it? So was it an aspen that is a very family-oriented tree? And do I need to go see what's going on with my family? Or is it an oak tree that's very strong and stable and can withstand that storm? So then is there something coming up that I need to prepare for?
Interesting. I think this is the part that makes dream interpretation something that is so like awesome to listen to and just kind of think about. What are some of the things? Now, there's some people who can take it to the extreme, okay? And I want to kind of talk about this because this is for the ones that are like, okay, the ones that are calling somebody every single day for the significant meaning of a dream. What part and what kind of advice, or would you give any kind of a warning? Would you give a word of advice about people who call people repeatedly for dream interpretation? Because this, while we are all healthy individuals, there can be this codependency that is created between person and interpreter. And like, how do you keep that healthy? So what would you, for people who interpret dreams and, that kind of stuff, what would you do to help create a healthy boundary so that the dreams are significant and get the meaning through, but that people can remember to live life as well? Lisa, what would you say to that?
Okay, so clarification. Are you saying that the person, like you have a client that doesn't do their own work, but they would rather have you do the interpretation for them? Is that what you're asking?
No, the ones that just, they cannot do anything without understanding what this means. They cannot do anything without understanding what this means.
Oh, okay. So
Right.
so a dream that they have just drives them crazy and they can't think about anything else but
Right.
that. Okay. Okay. That's a great question. I think I would probably tell them to relax and take a deep breath and think about how the dream felt. How did they feel when they had the dream, inside the dream? What was the feeling, the emotional content? Were they feeling safe? Were they feeling excited? Were they afraid? And then I would encourage them to think about, um, I would probably just talk them through the interpretation. But I would also explain to them that sometimes, we have a dream that could just be a subconscious dump of a lot of extraneous data and projections that come to us from the people around us, from the TV shows we watch, from everything that we're exposed to.
Mhm.
And so if you're having dreams that are really confusing or scary, sometimes I think a prayer, um, asking. So I have asked for guidance dreams before when I had a circumstance in my life that was really, really difficult, like a decision to make, very difficult decision. And I asked every night before bed in my prayers for a guidance dream. And so about 3 nights later, I had the dream. And I made sure when I asked for the dream that I was asking to not only have the dream, but that it would be clear and understandable and that I would remember it. And so, because so many times we have these jumbly dreams, right? Where I don't know what that means. This is crazy. And so you are basically communicating to your soul. Your dream is your soul communicating with you, is my belief. And so even your guides are a reflection of your soul, a part of you. And so if you're not liking the dream, delivery, then say, hey, soul, get a little bit more refined here. I want to understand these dreams and I want to remember these dreams and make it more clear so that I feel like I understand the teaching or the message. And just don't give up asking for that every single night. And the funniest thing is that when I woke up that next day after that dream, I was making pancakes for breakfast, and boom, this dream just exploded in my mind, and it was a whole complete picture, and it was just incredible. And so, I guess I would say don't feel like a victim of your dreams. Gain control. You have control. You are the one that's dreaming this. Your soul is the one communicating. So, hi, Cheri.
I think
Hi there.
Hi, Cheri. How are you? It's good to see you here. Thanks for joining us. How are you?
I'm fine. I was trying to get in and my password was messed up. Sorry.
Oh, you're absolutely fine.
We're all friends here.
Well, Cheri, since you're new to our little group here, if you want to just take a moment and tell us who you are, where you're at in the world, and what is it that you do?
Okay. My name is Cheri Huss. I live in Alliance, Nebraska. I'm currently working out of a little shop called The Natural Way Crafts and Healing as a psychic medium. I do Akashic records, and I also do divination cards and shamanic prayer healing. So
Wonderful.
basically, I try to do healing and closure for people spiritually.
Wonderful. I think that is so spectacular. And, thank you for taking the time to join in us today. So we've already asked just a couple of questions, but now we're getting ready to jump into actual interpretations. This is where I think it's going to be the funnest, because listening to the different interpretations and sometimes just even hearing our dreams read back to us sometimes can clarify a lot of things. And so what we're going to do is I'll read one of the dreams that we have here that was sent to me. And then if you don't mind, we'll just kind of go around and we'll take a few minutes and we'll just kind of explain. We have 4 different ones that we can go through if we have enough time. So we'll just go ahead and start with this first one, okay? So the dream is, I was riding in the back of a car on the passenger side. I looked up and noticed that my ex was in the passenger seat in the front and driving from there. It's not like he was driving a car from the UK. The pedals and the steering wheel were on the other side. In the dream, it felt like he was off. He pulled over like he was getting pulled over, and I put my hand on his shoulder and I said, having a rough day? There are times we all need a little extra love. And then I woke up. Cheri, if you want to start, what would you gather from this dream? What is your interpretation?
Immediately, I instantly went to, there's something in her that isn't, I guess, done with. There's unfinished business there, maybe. I feel like maybe perhaps that ex had was kind of in the driver's seat, literally in that relationship, kind of holding her hostage somehow. Maybe not in a bad way, but definitely in a way that she felt responsible, perhaps, for his situation or his problems. Maybe there's a part of her that she hasn't let go of, as far as getting him out of her system. It just feels like something got hijacked there. Maybe it was her freedom, maybe it was her peace of mind, but she's trying to send love energetically, even in her dream space, maybe, for healing.
Well, automatically, even hearing that she's giving this person, the ex, love and understanding, it's like, kudos to you. You know what I mean? Lisa, what are your aspects and what do you think of that?
Well, first of all, the whole time you were reading that dream, my whole body was in tingles. That dream is a potent message for this dreamer. And I'm getting all over confirmation again. So whenever you are dreaming of a car, you want to be driving it, because the car reflects your journey, your path in life. And so if you are in a car, the best you want to be driving. If you're not driving, you at least want to be in the passenger seat with the driver, right? Because that to me suggests that you're possibly a partnership or a team. But if you're sitting in the back of your car and someone else is driving, then there's something really serious going on that is an inversion of energetic power. You're giving away your power to over your life, your journey, your path in life and where you're going, your direction in life, to someone else. Now, the fact that this is someone who's on the wrong side of the car driving, to me, is a very serious message that you have got to get control over your car. Someone else is pulling him over in your life, your journey. So it sounds to me like he is, first of all, he shouldn't be driving your vehicle, your life, your pathway. And he should definitely be in, you know, we're not in the UK, so he's not even driving it properly, right? And then even additionally, someone else is pulling him over, right?
Right.
So, you know, this dreamer's, you know, putting their hand on the shoulder and saying, having a rough day. Who gives a shit about his rough day? Excuse me. Didn't set rules.
We're all good.
I think it's good to be compassionate, but this is your life we're talking about.
Right.
What's more important is that you get control of your life, drive your own car in the direction that you choose from the left side where the actual steering wheel is and the pedals are, and get this guy out. There's a force from outside that's stopping the car and going to pull him out anyway.
Right.
So how about you take control of your car instead of some external force that takes him away? That's my take on it.
I think that's beautiful too, because, you know, a lot of times we do feel like, okay, where am I at in my journey? Michelle, what is your take? Now that you've heard this, what is your take on this?
Okay, well, I'll have to admit that there's actually mine. So whenever I decide I want to date, my ex shows up in my dreams. And this is the first time it's ever been in a car. There's been times where it's been in the house. It's been times where we've been outside. It's been many different situations. This is the first time where he's actually had control over anything. And it's actually the first time I actually ever gave him compassion either. In this dream. So I was just like going, this is really weird. So I don't know what to take, because I was like going, why is he wanting to show up now? Because I know he's really good at doing hooks and spiritual hooks.
So okay, so in this dream, kind of hearing the two sides of this and then hearing whose dream it is. And to me, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the kind of the conclusion is to pulling this information together. So one, whenever we end a relationship, we need to make sure that we take the time to correctly heal ourselves from that and be able to give back and get back what we rightfully need and what we rightfully deserve, you know, because we need to be whole before we can go on to another relationship. Right. This is, you know, everybody always says, you know, oh, we jump into these relationships and it's like, oh, pretty soon, why do I have they're the same person, you know what I mean? And so it really is about healing these traits and ourselves from whatever it was done and being able to go through that. That is about us taking control of our journey, you know, because this is our life, this is our experience, and we really get to choose. And every time that we're choosing to go through an experience, maybe it is for our growth, maybe it is for us to, you know, glean information to help others, but most of the time it's going to be to help us be better and improved. Would you all agree?
Yes.
So I found it very interesting, like you said, that nobody was even driving the car. There was nobody in the driver's seat. And it's not that it's like, you're kind of looking at that and you're like, okay, when you sit back, literally in the back seat to gain perspective, then what are you getting the perspective of? Is it where you want to be? Are you seeing who you want to see? Are you seeing the results? Because even getting pulled over It's one thing if we're driving and we get pulled over, that's kind of like, maybe I shouldn't be speeding. I know I speed, but, when we get pulled over and nobody's driving, then it's like, it's a call to action. So all of us would agree that it's a call to action to kind of work through and see if there's any residual left in the relationship to make sure that you are healthy, especially if you're ready to start a new relationship, because of the plain fact that it helps us grow. It helps us to be able to, kind of remove those blocks. But the best part is it helps us to let that new person be the person that they want to be or who they really are, without limits and barriers and expectations of what we expected before. So I hope that was a good one for you. And I hope that helps you be able to, kind of determine what it is. So, all right. Do you feel like you got the answers that you needed?
You just got to do some more research.
Yeah.
Some internal research.
It's going to be, so maybe as a follow-up later on, you can ask for another clarification dream on this one, or when you go into your Akashic records, you can ask for clarification as to certain symbols that we have pointed out,
Right.
And then you can work on them. But it'd be great if you would post and kind of let us update us on kind of the results of that. Because of course,
Yeah.
we're always curious to find out, like, and then what happened?
Right.
So now this one, okay, so I'm going to read this next dream, okay? So, and I'm going to leave out the names that are included just because we want to make sure that that it's just an open everything, okay? So it starts out, I had this dream about 2 weeks ago. I don't often remember dreams, but when I do, it's often vague and snippets, but this one was very clear. I was at a coffee shop with my husband and in a group of about 8 or 10 people. There was a man there with a woman, and he said to me, "Hi, blank." I was perplexed, not recognizing him, and he asked, "Don't you remember me?" I was at a loss, and I said, "I'm sorry, can you help me?" This angered him greatly, and I felt concerned. He refused to help me remember, so I got up and went to the counter where I was registering for a class with a shaman woman who offers classes that I'd been wanting to take. I told her about the angry guy, and while I did, I saw this image in my mind of him standing in a river, kind of like a person about to baptize other people, though no one was in the water with him. And boom, my awareness was that he had set himself up as some sort of a guru, but was run out of town, in parentheses, during my college days. I do not know him, and it was like an alternate reality. I returned to the table, and he had left to go outside, leaving the woman he was with at the table. So I went to the group, who seemed annoyed with me for not remembering the guy, and I leaned down and said, "God will take care of this." And then I said, "God will take care of it." And the third time, "God will take care of it." And then I returned to my seat beside my husband and said to him, "I think we have an enemy." End of the dream. So Cheri, if you would, what is your take on this?
Well, that's a tough one. I do know when you say things 3 times in a row, you speak it to life. And so I almost felt like, because it was a shamanic type class, there are aspects to our personality that we try to hide or not be like or not recognize. And I almost felt as if it looks bad on the outside, like shadows always look bad, right? But there's always a lesson behind that. And the lesson to me would be, we need to look for those false prophets and be out on the lookout for those, and to always be under that shelter of God, asking him, to open our eyes and have wisdom every day. I know there's a lot of, this is kind of maybe off a little bit, but there's a lot of people out there claiming to be Christian or loving counselors for marriage, or people that do workshops for marriage, but they don't often align with her values, maybe. and to just cover that in prayer constantly, and just always have that confidence knowing that God's going to have our back, and to not worry what other people are thinking.
I
I
think
hope that helps.
yeah, I think that is a wonderful outlook on this. Lisa, what do you think? Now that you've heard this out loud, what are you thinking about it?
Well, I definitely agree about the three, the invocation of God. God will take care of it. So I think that the message is telling the dreamer that it isn't something to worry about, even though there may be an enemy. God will take care of it, and because it was mentioned 3 times, I think that's crystal clear. I also think that the group at the coffee shop is a representation of a number of people who have opinions and who might express those opinions, and that the person dreaming this dream should be firm about her conviction, his conviction, her conviction. That could be a he. That it's not something that they get to weigh in on, or that it's really not their business. And the only person that seems privy to the information is the husband. That's the person to trust. Also, the shaman teacher, that person is a person of trust also.
Interesting. I think that is quite enlightening. Michelle, what is your take now that you've heard it read out loud? What is your take on this?
So it was really interesting because when I first got it, I was like going, there's something in their past that happened. And because they're probably younger, because as we're younger, when things happen, we just kind of move on and don't deal with it. So then this year came up and it's like, oh, I'm here. You have not dealt with me yet. And then what I got with God will take care of it was like, oh, that's just going to deal with it for me. I don't have to worry about it anymore because I'm done. And God's just going to take care and move on. And I don't have to put any more energy towards this. Because that part of my life is done. And I'm a totally different person. So it no longer needs to affect me.
I think that is splendid because, so when we are looking at this dream as a whole, there's a couple of aspects that it's like, it is about paying attention to what we are asking for always, right? Because of the number of the 3 times, like that is important that we always are mindful of what we're really literally invoking. Because, sometimes we say things 3 times and we're like, oh, wait a minute, that's not what I wanted, and so it is very important that we are mindful of that kind of stuff. The one thing that kind of stood out to me in this particular thing is that when you asked for help from the person who wanted you to remember them, then it's like they didn't want to help. So how many times in our lives have we had people come in and out where we're like, can you help me? And they're like, seriously, you know what I mean? They give us a bunch of crap about like something they want us to help them with. And you're like, okay, well, help me, help you. I don't know, And so sometimes, because I literally, like, I don't know anybody who hasn't had that experience. And you're like, okay, so did they want my help or which causes confusion for us. And I think with the variety of people that were in the dream, I think the interpretation of there's many opinions, I think is accurate. I think that is very accurate and it's just to each his own interpretation. The thing that I think is the best part is being able to know that God's taking care of it. That's like the greatest comfort in the world. And being able to know that you can say those things with a spouse is like reassurance that it's solid, that the information is not going to be tainted, that it's not going to be, held against us, that it's not going to be used against us. So, now, of course, we didn't get to hear the husband's side of like, ooh, if there was any agreement, but it's one of those things where it's like, usually we're going to be telling our spouse, the person that's closest to us, our confidant, when we feel like maybe there's a possibility of a potential attack. I think when we're doing this kind of stuff, like, it is knowing that we are protected, knowing that we're doing the things that are going to always keep us protected, and knowing that opinions are just that, but being open to them so that you can understand how to gain more clarity all the time for self. That's, I think, a good thing too. I think it is important that we always take a look at the past, because now a lot of people, I always hated that term, well, you got to forgive and forget. I've always hated that. Like, forgive all you want, but remember the experience so that you can learn and develop and, do things that will correct those kind of things in the future. Because really, it's like muscle memory, right? If you train yourselves to run out in the fire drill, then when the fire happens, you run out the fire drill. But our past is kind of a similar thing. So it's like, if we don't take care of it and remember how we got through it, then something similar comes up and it can cause that confusion too. So it can inflict what we thought we might have worked through. So I think all of it is very accurate. You ladies are really good, really good. And I'm hoping that this will be able to help the viewers too, because I apologize, like, I haven't seen any comments or anything like that. So if there are people that are listening right now, please comment, and Michelle will be able to get back with you on it as soon as we get all of that kind of clarified. But let's move on to the next dream, okay? Are you all ready? This is kind of exciting. We should have some music. Okay. All right. So let's talk this one. Okay. Now this is okay. So anytime there's a name in the dream, then I'm going to omit it, just because we want to make sure that everybody has kind of this open opinion. Okay. All right. So the dream is, last night, this morning, I woke up at 12:10. Now, I don't know, I'm going to stop right there. Whenever I hear numbers, that's a huge significant to me. Okay. From a dream that shook me. In my dream, a stranger who was average, non-threatening size or seeming behavior climbed on me while I was lying down and gave me the kiss of death. He literally sucked all of my energy out through my mouth in 2 fluid sucks. My husband didn't hear me gasping or feel me tossing in bed, but I woke up directly from this dream and repeatedly fell into a peculiar dreams and restless sleep the remainder of the night. So let's get some discussion going on in this one. Cheri, what is your take on this?
Okay, the Pentecostal is going to come out in me for a moment. To me, first of all, the numbers are very important, because 10 is kind of, to me, the number of completion, like a cycle has ended. So if I'm looking through it through a Pentecostal lens, I've done a lot of spiritual deliverance kind of ministry. There are definitely a male and female spirit that succubus, and I can't remember the other one, that can literally do things like that to you and drain your life force. It's usually more in a sexual manner. But the kiss of death is interesting. I'm trying to figure that one out. I feel as if it's not that, though. I feel like it is a spiritual cleansing, pulling out all this toxic garbage. All the astrology planetary influences right now is supporting, change and spiritual upgrades, relationship upgrades. So maybe there's something inside of her that it's just time to let go of and get rid of and suck it out of you like a vacuum cleaner, and leave room for something new to come into your life and start a new cycle, either in her relationship with her husband. If I look at it from a psychology side, I would say maybe you have sleep apnea, like you stop breathing, but I think that it's probably more to do with an old cycle ending and the silver lining in that is now she can move into something new that's not as scary and yucky. And I'm hoping that's what it means.
Yeah. Well, and don't we all want the best for our dreams, right?
Yeah.
Lisa, what is your take on that dream? Were you able to hear it all?
Yeah, I kind of wish you would read it again though, because I was listening, but there was kind of, it was quick and there was a lot in there. So would you mind? I would be grateful.
Okay, this morning, I awoke at 12:10 a.m. from a dream that shook me. In my dream, a stranger who was average non-threatening size or seeming behavior climbed on me while I was lying down and gave me the kiss of death. He literally sucked all of my energy out through my mouth in 2 fluid sucks. My husband didn't hear me gasping or feel me tossing in bed, but I woke directly from this dream and repeatedly fell into peculiar dreams and restless sleep the remainder of the night.
So yeah, at first, the word succubus kind of triggered me a little bit into thinking it might be like some kind of demonic thing. But as I listened again, I don't feel that actually. I feel like it's you have to die to your old life before you can be reborn into your new life. And the fact that that the dreamer was turning to the husband a little bit, like, hey man, didn't you hear? Didn't you see? What's up? Might just be a little message there that it's your journey to do. It's your work to do. And you can't really rely ultimately on another person to do the spiritual work. So, because I feel like this is a spiritual, this is about the spiritual journey. It's not about somebody coming in through the window that's going to hurt you, because your husband would be all over that, I'm sure. It is about you recognizing that the old you is dying and the new you is coming. It may not even be fully online yet, which is the reason that fragmentary dreams or there, and fitfulness, and you haven't fully integrated it. It's one thing to like get the kiss of death and die to the old self, but the new self is still kind of in that little cocoon. So I think it's kind of an exciting dream, and yeah, I would be pretty encouraged by that.
Good. Okay, and Michelle, what is your take on this dream?
So when I first heard it, what stuck out with me was the 1210. And if you add them all together, it's a 4, which is a number of balance. So in order for her to be balanced in this new timeline, the old has to go. And so it's a matter of releasing. And it almost feels like she wasn't willing to fully release. So they sent something in to help her release, because she didn't want to let it go fully.
Right.
And so it's all about reclaiming your new self, the balance that's within, she can show it forward.
Well, and I think it's right on. I think everything that's going there, like, I think everybody is like, this is a particular, it's one of those dreams where it's like, okay, we have to really look at it, because, just at first initial glance, like you said, Cheri, like, okay, the Pentecostal in me wants to come out and be like, oh, whatever we need to do. Because our initial reaction, of course, when we are having the fight of our life for a moment in what we feel like, it is like, oh my gosh, I don't want to die. We don't want to have that experience. And so, it can be very scary when we have these dreams. So the number, I think it's very interesting, the number 1210, because, like you said, you add them up, it's, the balance. When we look at them individually, like the 10 is the alpha omega, right? The beginning, the end. And so it's like, this is very fun when we start to looking at that. And it is like, we have we have to get our subconscious to remember that not that it doesn't know right or wrong. It's our conscious mind that's like waking us up, that's scaring the crap out of us with everything, right? I have a very active imagination. I can scare the crap out of myself, no problem, you know. So, but it's interesting to me. There's a couple of things that I find very fascinating in this. Number one, that the laying down position was happening. When I think of like the laying down, it is kind of the surrender to me, because we are in a relaxed position. We are in a very vulnerable position. So to me, it's kind of like you're looking at what's being kind of brought out. Are these the insecurities that are literally coming out and being forced out? Because, well, sometimes facing, that kind of stuff can be really scary. And so our mind is telling us, oh, you better be careful because of a past experience that almost killed you and that kind of stuff. So it's like when we're looking at that kind of stuff, it is about getting rid of the old stuff. It's about getting those cycles completed. So it is about all of that, like the numbers, that is huge. And the fact that the person woke up and seen the time, that is significant, because, well, like me, I'm like, I don't know what time it is, and I roll over and, do whatever the dream, go back into wherever I was, or I sit there and go, how long have I been awake? So, the paying attention to the self, that is crucial. We all agree on that. Like it's a self-awareness dream. Like this is something that, with many situations in our life, I think it's very curious that we have dreams that remind us to be constantly aware of where we are. What are we doing? Are we continuing on? Are we having these little hiccups? Because, it's just kind of a constant reminder to always do that self-check, and I think a lot of us, we can heal a lot of things with just doing that self-check. Like, how do I feel about this? And do I feel good about it? Do I feel wrong about it? So I think I think the dream, I think we can all agree that it is an ending of a cycle. It is about you being aware of what's going on with you. It is about being able to surrender and be ready for the new position that's about to happen. Because, and I always find it funny, like whenever we have a husband in a dream, because it's like, what do they do? Not that men just sit there, but it's always kind of funny, like what their role is in the dreams, because you're like, okay, the one's just laying there, the other one's just sitting there, like we don't get to hear anything else with them. So I think that's a lot of fun to be able to know that there is someone who is there on your side. So that's a great reassurance. So I think these dreams are particularly lovely. Okay, so do we have time for one more? Yeah? Okay, everybody good with it? Okay, perfect. All right. Okay, so here is a next dream. Okay, so it says, my husband and I were living in a barn. Okay, let me see. Okay, hang on. So I apologize. Let me get this right. My husband and I were in a barn living there. We were sleeping in our bed and there was hay all around us. Along with the horses and the cats and the dog, we woke up to some strange lights off in the east. From the direction of town, these giant beams of light were opening up and going down to the ground, like those huge keg lights used for big events. But these started small above and were quite large as they went to the ground. So they were narrow at the top and got wider as they went down. We walked out of the barn, grabbing the animals for safety, and walked onto the road where we could get a better view. Still standing there beside the barn in the road, a huge piece of machinery I'd never seen before came by, and it seemed as it would run us down, but went past us. It was a huge industrial type of vehicle, like you might see in a special documentary about machinery that do big special jobs we never think of. Then there were all of these strange pods zooming past us, just hovering above the irrigation ditch. They looked like glass bubble cockpits of a helicopter, but no visible way to propel themselves. You could see through them. Each had a driver and someone else inside. some in their pajamas laying against the sides, their faces smashed against the windows like they were asleep. They were in a line, zooming past one by one. I turned to hubby and said, perhaps we should go too. And that was the end of the dream. Interesting, right? Okay, Michelle, what is your take? Now that you've heard this read out loud, what is your take on that?
It's an interesting one. There's so much in there. I mean, there's new construction, rebuilding. There is like a new life because the pods and everything else like that iridescent like alien type technology that's out there. It's like, ooh, curious, what's this new life? What is this? Is this for us? So it almost feels like, are they dabbling into too much stuff that's out there and not bringing it inward?
A view perspective.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's almost like, oh, how do we bring this in?
Okay. How to incorporate. Okay. I think that is really insightful. Cheri, what is your take on that one?
Wow. I don't know how to put it in words. I watch a lot of those Ancient Aliens on Netflix, and they always have those pods, and there is an actual alien craft that is like an egg pod that hovers above water quite often. So I don't know if she has, this is gonna sound really crazy to some people, I don't know if this is like her spirit guides communicating with her at night, because we do know that we can have, I hate to even say it out loud, extraterrestrial spirit guides trying to reach us dream time, but it felt to me more like asleep at the wheel. Like they come out and they're awake, they're aware, but they're watching everybody just asleep at the wheel whizzing by them at warp speed. And that's kind of a nod to our current society. I mean, those of us that are awake and are fighting and praying and trying to help people ascend are seeing everybody asleep at the wheel. And, we're all under technology. We're literally eyes shut to what's really going on. And maybe she feels like she should be more of the majority. I don't know. It just feels to me like it's commenting on the fact that she was able to be awake with her husband and have time to collect things and her thoughts and what's important to her, and gather those and see what's going on in the distance. It almost is, to me, kind of a prophetic dream, perhaps, that they need to keep their eyes on what's being, or maybe what's not being spotlighted that nobody else is paying attention to. She's tuning into, and she needs to stay awake to that, because everyone else is just kind of going through the motions and not being awake to what they need to be, maybe.
I think that is pretty insightful too, yes, because there is a lot going on in this one. Lisa, What is your take on this?
Well, I really like what everyone has said thus far. I think it's really interesting that that there was that big machinery there that was unrecognizable as anything that would, we'd see, the streamer had seen before, and then it seemed like it was going to run them down, but it didn't. So somehow, I think that's important. That's a critical part. There's like, like Cheri said, all these people asleep at the wheel, being taken up, ostensibly from their beds if they're in their pajamas and it's nighttime. They aren't even aware that they're being stolen or taken up and then trapped, sent somewhere, taken somewhere. And so just having that sense of being a little maybe afraid, but also grounded and with everybody around them that they care about, and seeing this happening, and just having that very calm, like, well, should we go to, like it was a choice. It was an option if we wanted to. And yet we didn't, right? And I find that really interesting, Cheri, about the water and the pods and stuff, because I didn't know that, that sort of thing existed. So, yeah, interesting.
This is such a fascinating one. Okay. Because there is everything that you guys have said is like just ringing true with me, because it is about rebuilding. It is about reconstruction. It is about, being awake when these things are happening. It is about, like being aware of like when you can't tell what's coming at you, but it misses you, then you've got some sort of awareness going on in your surroundings that is like peculiar. So to me, it's like, how do you, when we're starting to work these dreams and everything like that, like it is very, very prophetic, because these dreams really do represent things that are going to be huge pieces of information, that kind of stuff that's going to come across. And I think it's something I find it always very funny, that we have time to grab certain things. Isn't that, I mean, to me, that's always like very like, I wonder, like in an emergency situation, what do we really grab? You grab the things that were most important, right? And it's like, it's the husband, it's the cat, it's the animals, it's these things that are like, that are going to help sustain us. So there is a lot of sustaining in this dream. So it's about, the rebuilding is about making sure that the foundation is correct and that you have a strong foundation. Being able to have, like the being able to see the lights get from small to big. It is about where are the lights shining and what's not being seen. Because usually when there is something that's not familiar with us, then we can't really see it. And again, that kind of goes back to this big piece of equipment that we don't know what it is, but it's coming straight for us. So being able to identify key people or key elements that are going to be entering in that maybe we're not quite sure about. It is about, being awake. It is like we all agree that it's about being awake when we are, doing new techniques, whether we're doing major healing, whether we're doing, all-encompassing work. It's about being awake during that process and knowing exactly what we're inviting in, because them hovering right across the irrigation ditch, whenever we see water, it is all about movement. So how are we moving through with our life? How are our thoughts coming through? Because if they're starting to get jumbled and confused, it's time to clean out. It's time to, get working the unseen. So I hope that all of these interpretations in different aspects really do help bring into light all of the different aspects of how these dreams can benefit us, because it's like, it's a good reminder to everybody, like, you got to pay attention to what's going on. It's time to be aware of where you're at in your journey, because even though we're having all these different dreams, when we look at them and we can talk about them, then it's really important that we glean for ourselves what really is in there, right? Because this is how we help each other learn and grow and develop. And it allows us to open up to the unseen, which I think is key in all the dreams. It's being able to see what's not going on, to how it affects us, because, like the empty driver's seat, that's a huge effect, because you're kind of like, well, how many days this month have I drove? Not apparent, And thank God I can do it subconsciously, because I don't know how I got there, But it is like, those type of things, like our awareness, where we're at. So let's kind of go around the room. This is kind of our first round table of discussing this kind of stuff. And I have to say, what an insightful group. I hope that people that are listening to this and that will listen to this, if they have these kind of things, like they can email us, and Michelle is going to be kind enough to be able to get our information out there so that, if anybody has any questions, they can contact all of us. And so just like, this is our first group that we've been able to do, and I think it was quite successful. Like, I've really enjoyed it. I've had a lot of fun. It's been great to visit with all of you. So in closing, Lisa, would you like to just kind of summarize your experience today? And, how is this? Did you like it? Was there a favorite part? Was there something that really was magnificent to you? And then we'll just kind of continue around and let everybody kind of close that way.
Sure. Well, I love the fact that you're doing these, and I hope we can do them again. And I love this so much. I was like, why don't we do this like every week? It would be so fun to have like a dream roundtable and just have people email us dreams. And I agree that it was like a real spirit, a real nice collaborative spirit and insight here among we four, and I'm sure you'll have more this evening. So, it's not just us, but I just thought that was a lot of fun. And I do really appreciate the fact that we have different backgrounds, like your Pentecostal background and my spiritualist background. And I'm also, I've been an actor. And so I've studied archetypes and symbolism. I mean, there's just so many things we all bring to this work that is pretty cool, makes us a nice team. So, and you were, maybe some of those dreams in there were mine. And I would say that I appreciated very much what you had to say. So, yeah, thank you so much. I really loved it. And let's do it again for sure.
Very good. Very good. Michelle, what is your take? What was some of your favorite parts?
Oh, my favorite part was just being able to see some beautiful ladies today. And just being able to connect with all the different energies that are out there and being able to go like, this is what I'm seeing for this, and how we all saw something different, and yet how they all relate to what we were talking about, to the dream.
Mm-hmm. I think that is spectacular. Cheri, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I'm just so appreciative of you doing this because, as everybody knows, dreams are the time you work through the subconscious stuff that's in the background all day, that you don't deal with. And I really liked how everybody kind of connected the same dots, but their own little life experience kind of kicked in there. And, I know thinking afterwards, like, oh, well, that lady that was laying down and then she looked over at her husband, kind of disgruntled that he was sleeping through it. Maybe there's something in the family that he's not attending to, and it makes her kind of like, aren't you going to do something, George? Type of a thing, And then, like Lisa said, remembering that our spiritual journey is ours, even though we walk along with our spouse and family and friends, So I hope this is something that continues, because I think it'd be very beneficial. A lot of people come to me for dream interpretation, and I'm like, you could ask 10 different psychics and get 10 little extra pieces, So it's important. Thank you.
Well, okay, so like Michelle, thank you for putting all of this together. Like, this is an extraordinary group, and I think it's going to benefit so many people, including ourselves, because of course it's always fun to be able to connect, and be able to meet like-minded people. We always talk about creating these mastermind groups and being able to relate to the same people. So Michelle, like, thank you for putting all this together, and thank you all for showing up. Like, this is absolutely just amazing. And of course, thank you for letting me host. I hope I've been a great hostess. I have just got a weird sense of humor, so I'm glad everybody likes it. And, I just look forward to the next one. And by all means, anybody that has, any dreams, anything like that, like, we could do another dream interpretation roundtable. Like, it is no problem. Michelle will include a link where you can email all the dreams to, and maybe this is something that we can kind of benefit, because there's them times when we just need to be able to have this talked about. You know, my sister and I, we often talk, you know, I always thank her at the end of the conversations because I'm like, you know, thank you for helping me beat my dead horse that I drag around, you know, and she's like, no problem. I'll beat it to death with you all you need, you know, because, you know, in order to gain that clarity, sometimes it just takes a big stick and sometimes it takes help, you know. So it's just a wonderful experience. So with that, thank you all for coming today. Thank you for taking the time and participating. And thank you for putting this together, Michelle. And thank you for letting me host. I wish everybody to have a splendid weekend. And I look forward to the next one. So thank you guys for showing up. Have a great day. Thanks for your participation.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.